Hey yo, what up? It's your boy. It is August the 8th, 2023. I'm in LA right now. Earlier on my channel, if you hopefully saw, then I did a video where I talked about potentially the reasons why the new Christopher Nolan movie Oppenheimer was banned in Japan or possibly not airing in Japan. To this day, I think Oppenheimer's been out for like, 3 weeks, I think? And it's playing in the American cinemas, still hasn't come out in Japan. Maybe it'll never come out in Japan. So I thought, fuck it. I'm gonna fly all the way to LA just so I can watch Oppenheimer and I can give you my thoughts on it. It's a 3-hour film apparently, so we're gonna get back at like midnight. So I'll see how I feel by then. Alright, I'll see you guys after the movie. Okay, hello. I'm back from watching Oppenheimer. It's like midnight, but I want to give my little spoiler-free review on the movie and answer the age-old question we tried to answer in the last video, which was, should Oppenheimer or is Oppenheimer banned in Japan? And I guess in this case, the question is now that I've seen the movie, should Oppenheimer be banned in Japan? But before that, my thoughts on the movie. I thought the movie was pretty good. Definitely not your typical Christopher Nolan film. I think he's known more for the Bwans and the Batmans and the pew pews, whereas this was like a just straight up political biopic, which is, not everyone's cup of tea, obviously. I think I've been trained by Aki to watch a lot of biopics because that's like her favorite genre of film. So I thoroughly enjoyed it as a biopic. It was really good as well. And obviously all the actors in it were really good. The visuals were awesome. And I think like the way that Christopher Nolan kind of, I guess, slowly shows the mental struggles and like the mental like answers of all of his like moral questions, or Oppenheimer's moral questions, and like showing that visually through like crazy looking imagery, I thought was like really cool, really creative. I would definitely recommend it, especially if you love your political films, especially if you love your biopics, if you're interested in learning about the history, because I certainly learned a lot. I didn't go into the film knowing everything about Oppenheimer's life. Like I knew bits and pieces, like how it went, and like I knew how it was going to end. And how it got to that point, but there were certain like key figures in this whole story that I never knew about, such as like Louis Strauss, which I didn't know who he was before this movie, and now I do with some research. Should Oppenheimer be banned in Japan? And my answer is no. I absolutely don't think it is. It should be. I think this was done in a very sensible way. The storytelling was done in a very sensible way. Even a Japanese person could watch this and tell that Christopher Nolan was being extra careful to make sure that he would tell this story, but not in a way that would offend the Japanese. First off, there were a lot of visual clues, I guess, or I guess things that were missing from the film that made me suggest that this was done in a way to not offend Japanese people. For one, obviously, when you're telling the story of Oppenheimer, you can't sidestep around Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Like, that is something, yes, it is unfortunate, it is offensive to a lot of people, but that is undeniable history. If you can tell that story in as non-biased of a way, then I think that is doing history justice in film. And I think Oppenheimer, at least, the movie Oppenheimer told that in a very unbiased way. It showed, like, say, the American government, the American military, and all the scientists that developed the bomb cheering and shouting in excitement, being like, we did it, we ended the war. Obviously without taking into consideration the hundreds of thousands of people that were killed as a result of it. That might be hard to swallow for some Japanese people, but that is what happened. Don't blame the actors for that. Don't blame Christopher Nolan for that. Blame the people who were there at the time doing that after the war. And, I'm sure a lot of them now also heavily regret it, like the titular character of this movie definitely did. Even before they dropped the bomb, Oppenheimer was already reconsidering even developing the bomb to begin with, and was coming to terms with the mental tugs and pulls between what is right and what is wrong in this context. And as we all know, there is no right and wrong in war. War just sucks no matter which side of the war you're on. But also, for the fact that, again, it's not what they showed in the film, it's what they didn't show. And the thing that they didn't show in the film is two things. The bomb dropping on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. There was no footage of that. It literally time skips to them sending the bomb off, and then it immediately cutting to the announcement that the bomb had been dropped. So, you know, I think Christopher Nolan did a really good job because, you know, it is a very impactful scene whenever it is shown on film, and it has been shown on film and interpreted in film multiple times from the West and from Japan. But in the case with Oppenheimer's story, it wasn't necessary to show because this is not what this film is about. It's not a film about the dropping of the bomb. It is a movie about a man coming to terms with the fact that he has accidentally created a weapon that could end all of civilization as we know it. That is the story of the film. I don't think it is necessarily that, like, these are two different matters at hand essentially. So again, Christopher Nolan just completely cutting that section out of the film, and then also cutting out this one scene where much later after the fact, they would show pictures of what happened in Hiroshima to these scientists and these government officials in America. And the camera, the entire time, while flicking through these images of destruction and people dying, the camera is just focused perfectly on Oppenheimer, on Cillian Murphy's character. As you can just, he's not even saying anything. You can just see on his cold face that he, for one, does not want to look at what happened because he blames himself for doing that. He blames humanity for perpetuating that. It is, I think, a really subtle yet I think really clever way to basically say, like, hey, I just want to tell this story of this individual that happened in history. I'm sorry if you don't like it, but I'm not here to offend you. I just want to tell this story because I think more people need to know about this story. Every time I hear the phrases Hiroshima and Nagasaki, I feel sadness inside of the tragedy that happened, and I'm sure everyone on planet Earth feels that way. But at the end of the day, you know, we saw in this film all the quote-unquote bad guys from the American side of everything. Not once did we ever see any Japanese people or Japanese characters in this film because it was told just from the unbiased one side of the story. Whereas I think a lot of Japanese people, and this is not just Oppenheimer, but I think any film that deals with World War II, especially, you know, the whole quarrel between Japan and America, I think that a lot of these films show the bad stuff that the US did in this war, but they never show the horrible shit that the Japanese did as well. There are films about it, like Pearl Harbor, for example. That is a film about Japan bombing Pearl Harbor. I think, again, one of the biggest reasons for me that I don't want this film to be banned from Japan, and I think every Japanese person, young or old, should watch this film, is because it is telling a unbiased piece of history that happened, which led to a very terrible thing. But at the same time, I think it's important that everybody understands what we all did as people that got us to this point and that caused that thing to happen. I think Japan is very closed off to learning about, I guess, the truth about their history. I mean, the truth is out there, but it's not taught in schools, you know. Just like any school is biased about the country that they're in when it comes to telling wars, right? That's naturally going to happen with anywhere. But I think especially like with Japan being such a catastrophic event in the war, or any war for that matter, in human history, I think it's really important that Japan understands like how this all happened from both sides of the fight, so that neither side will ever do anything like that ever again. Oppenheimer is one of those movies among many that I think did that justice, and I think Japan potentially banning this film from their country is really, you know, arrogant and ignorant to just sucking up and being, you know, just learning about the truth of what happened. So yeah, it's really late right now, and I'm obviously quite tired, especially after watching 3 hours of what is essentially dialogue. Thank God I'm a Monogatari fan, because I love that shit. But if you're not used to that, then might find the film a little bit boring. I'm just saying, especially if you're not used to political biopics. But that's my kind of 2 cents on that. Yeah, I don't think Japan should ban this film. I think every Japanese person should watch this film. I think every person should watch this film because it is a very important part of history that everyone should know and should be aware of. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, make sure to smack my face right here, subscribe to the channel. Let's keep making big channel number go bigger. Over here next to my head is a couple more videos you can check out as well. And let me know your thoughts about your review on Oppenheimer and that whole situation. I'd love to know down in the comments below. Anyways, guys, I'll see you in the next video when I'm not as tired. Have a good one. Peace.